Buenos días, tardes y noches a todos los que siguen su canal de Cristo Moderno. Hoy la transmisión será en español, en inglés. Voy a tener la reflexión de Génesis capítulo 24 en inglés. Ya en varias ocasiones lo hemos visto ya en español. Pueden buscar. Ya posteriormente subiré el enlace para que puedan accederlo en español también. Today's English transmission will be a biblical reflection of Genesis chapter 24. Let's begin. Abraham was old, having seen many days, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. Abraham said to the senior servant of his household, whom had charge of all his possessions, "Put your hand under my thigh." Now, there are two things to notice here. First of all, we know that Abraham had a lot of servants, but there are only two parts in the Bible where his servant is specifically mentioned. This is one of them. The other part of it, which I cannot recall at the moment, even tells us his name. This servant's name was Eleazar, which in Hebrew means God helps, God provides help, God assists. You see, in the Bible, names are not just given randomly the way we do in Western society. We like a name and we just give the kid a name that we like without respect for what the name actually means. I've actually seen people who name their babies after demons just because a particular demon has a beautiful sounding name. Sad but true. Going along this line, in the Bible, names have a purpose, and specific people with specific names are given for specific purposes in Scripture. In this case, Eleazar is mentioned not by name yet, but he is not mentioned anywhere except where he has a particularly mission to do. And with missions that are particularly almost impossible to do. This is one of those cases. And we're going to see why this job that Abraham has for Eleazar, his servant, is darn impossible to do. So much so that to be able to fulfill his promise, he has to do what? To submit to the help of God. We will see how he does this as we continue reading on. Let's continue. The other thing that we see is that Abraham has him put his hand under his thigh. I've asked rabbis about this. I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic, but this being written in a Jewish point of view, I wanted to get the cultural impression of why the thigh. Well, what I was told is that the thigh is the closest part of the human body to the source of all reproduction, to the source of life. In other words, he is swearing for the thing that is most sacred. He is practically swearing by his life. I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, verse 3, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanite among whom I live, but you will go to my own land and to my relatives to get a wife for my son Isaac. Now, this might sound strange for us here in Western society. You see, Abraham does not want Isaac marrying another Canaanite woman. So much so that Abraham prefers Isaac getting married to his actual cousin. Why? Well, if we follow the rest of Scripture, we see that marriage to Canaanite women always brought what? Always brought idolatry. Marriage to Canaanite women made them fall away from the Lord, and it led them to temptations. Let's be realistic. Men, all men, every single man has one major weakness, and this is woman. If the man marries a woman or falls in love with a woman who is not God fearing, this man will slowly be abandoning God. The heart of a woman needs to be so deep in the heart of God that that the man needs to bend his knees before God to come to her. That's what we see going on here. Um, Abraham sees the godlessness, the life full of sin of the Canaanite women. And he does not want this kind of woman for his son, because that would further lead his future generations a legacy of sin, corruption, and evil. Not just philosophically, you see, among Canaanite religion, human sacrifice was the norm. Part of Canaanite worship was a tophet, which was a ceremony where either Chemos or any other Canaanite god would be built with an oven. Chemos, for example, was an owl with human hands outstretched. And under the human hands, there was a grill. And the particular time of the year, they would sacrifice newborn children to the god Moloch. They would put the child in the hands of the idol Moloch and light the fire that is right beneath the hands of that statue. And then it's got tophet because of the word tof, meaning drums, because the musicians would be playing the drums louder and louder and louder to sound out over the cries of the poor burning child. Abraham knew that if Isaac married a Canaanite child, at least one of his grandchildren would be offered as human sacrifice in this cruel and inhumane manner. Let's continue. So he prefers to send Eleazar over to fetch him to fetch Isaac a girl for his wife, because at least he knows that through his family there's a human sacrifice. It's not part of the practice. Let's continue. He continues saying, the servant asked him, what if this woman is unwilling to follow me to this land? Should I take your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham told him, never take my son back there for any reason. We must remember, Abraham's wife just died. Isaac is the only person keeping him company. If Isaac goes back to that would leave Abraham alone. Abraham does not want to die alone. That's why he does not want to let Isaac go back to his homeland. And that's the reason why he has Eleazar to go to the homeland to pick up this girl for Isaac. And what do we see that's going on? It's an impossible mission. Eleazar, the servant, has to go by himself over all the way back to Padanaram, all the way back to Mesopotamia, to find a girl that neither he or his master's son know, and bring her back so that she could marry Isaac. Ladies, what would be your reaction if some total stranger came up to you telling you that he wants to take you so that you could marry his master's son? How would any of us react nowadays? This is kind of cringy, maybe. Kind of like, ooh. So continuing along these lines, um, Eleazar knows that the woman and her family are going to be very suspicious of this. So he knows that odds of him successfully bringing um, Isaac's future wife are not so good. So he tries to get out of this promise by saying, and then let's see what goes on. Um, the Lord, God, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and the land of my relatives, and who confirmed by oath the promise he had made to me. I will give this land to your descendants. He will send his angel before you, and you will get your a wife for my son there. If the woman is unwilling to follow you, you will be released from this oath to me, but never take my son back there. So the servant put his hand on the thigh of his master, Abraham, and swore to him concerning this matter. So Abraham, knowing that this is not a good mission to send him in, accepts that it's not such a smart mission. So he accepts to release Eleazar if she refuses to follow. The servant then took 10 of his master's camels, and bearing all kinds of gifts from his master, he made his way to the city of Nahor. Nahor was Abraham's brother. In Aram Naharaim, that's where Abraham was from. Aram Naharaim literally just means Aram between the rivers, between the Tigris and the Euphrates. Near evening, at the time when the women go out to draw water, he made the camels kneel by the well outside the city. So now Eleazar finally arrives. It is late. The heat of the day has gone down. And now we see the young women, because drawing water out of the well was considered a woman's job in biblical cultures. So now he arrives. But now that he knows that he has finally arrived to Ram Naharaim, run by the rivers, he is now wondering, okay, all these women are going to come over here. How would I know which is the right one? So what goes on? What happens is the following. Excuse the background noise. Today is Thanksgiving. Things are going around now with the preparations for Thanksgiving. It is a very interesting day. So let's continue finding out what's going on here. Eleazar is wondering, when the women come out, how will he know which woman is right for Rebecca? And he asks for a sign. Let's see what sign it is. Verse 12. Then he said, Lord God of my master Abraham, let it turn out favorably for me today. Help me out, in other words. Today, and thus so graciously with my master Abraham. Please answer my master's prayers. While I stand here at the spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming to draw the water, if I say to a young woman, please lower your jug that I may drink, and she answers, drink, and I will water your camels too, then she is the one whom you have decided upon for your servant Isaac. In this way, I will know that you have dealt graciously with my master. Now, what do we see here? He is asking for a sign. The sign will be that when he asks for water to drink, she will give not only him to drink, but also the animals. What does this tell us about that woman? It tells us that this is a very kind hearted woman, a woman who is simple, a woman who is gentle. The sign is not a physical sign, but a sign that reflects more towards what kind of a heart she has. So therefore, we see that Eleazar is choosing a woman who will be a good wife to Isaac because of the goodness of her heart, because who she is in her heart. She is kind-hearted. She has pity over the camels. Most people would say, "Well, they're camels; they can take it." But this woman was gentle enough to say, "Oh, poor camels! You must be very thirsty. Let me give you water to drink." Very um, considerate of people and of animals. This speaks that she has a beautiful heart. So we see now that Eleazar is looking not at her outside beauty, although later on he does say that she was very beautiful. Eleazar is looking actually at her heart. So so Eleazar decides comes up with a test to prove what kind of heart, how loving, how considerate the woman is, and uses this test to request God to be the sign for it. So let's continue. He had scarcely finished speaking when Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, came out alone with a jug on her shoulder. So as soon as she finishes praying, Rebekah comes about. The young one was very beautiful, a virgin, untouched by man. She went down to the spring, filled her jug as she came up. In the Hebrew, it actually tells us she had a very voluptuous body. So the Hebrew gives us very specific detail in the words that they choose. So we see that as Eliezer was praying, this beautiful girl called Rebecca comes about carrying a jug. But also, she was also physically pure. She had no relationships with any men, let alone any form of intimacy. So not only was she beautiful, she was not defiled as what the terms consider. But we also consider what's going on later on here. It says um, that she has her job. She is hardworking. So we're saying physically she's very beautiful. She is hardworking because she comes with her jug, ready to do what she needs to do. Um, Drink, sir, she replied, and quickly lowering the jug into her hand, she gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels too until they have finished drinking. There we go. She has already passed the test. The sign that Elias had requested and the test that was prepared have come through. Now we see that that Rebecca is the man chosen. Now we see that Eleazar finally knows who is going to be the wife for Isaac. Let's continue seeing. With that, she quickly emptied her jug into the drinking and ran back to the well and ran to draw more. Okay, he's saying that she quickly emptied her jar, and also she ran back to the well. So we see that not only is she working hard, giving Eleazar and the camels to drink, she's being diligent. She's focused. She's on it. She's in her zone. And then let's see. When the camels let's see where were we? We were verse 21. The man watched her the whole time, silently waiting to learn whether or not the Lord had made his journey successful. You see, God had answered Eleazar's question, and now he was quietly looking at her, looking at what she was doing, analyzing her, seeing what kind of woman this was that God answered his prayers with. And what do they find out? They find out, or what does he find out? He's thinking, could it be true? Could it be true that God answered my question? That God answered my prayer and put it out to me, what woman am I to take to Isaac? He's meditating, he's reflecting it. And at the same time, he's observing, learning about the kind of person she is. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing half a shekel and two gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels for her wrist. Then he answered, whose daughter are you? Tell me, please. And is there a place in your father's house for us to spend the night? Us. He's referring him and the people that came with him. Remember, he came with about 10 camels and a whole bunch of things. So obviously, Eleazar did not arrive alone. He had people helping him. There was two, and he people guarding him. So he's asking, okay, where are you from? Whose daughter are you? What's your okay? I know what kind of person are you, but now what kind of family are you? And also, we saw earlier that this was already the evening. So, what do we see that's going on? They are about to spend the night before they go back and continue on their way. Now, let's see. She answered, I am the daughter of Betuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. We have plenty of straw and fodder, she added, and also a place to spend the night. The man then knelt and bowed before the Lord and said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not let his kindness and fidelity toward my master fail. As for me, the Lord has led me straight to the house of my master's brother. So we see that Eleazar is happy because he has put, as for the signs, he has seen the signs fulfilled. He has put finding um, Rebecca's wife to the test. She has passed the test without even knowing that she was going through the test. She has found that there, and notice what kind of woman God has chosen for Isaac. She is not only physically beautiful, her heart is beautiful in wanting to help not just Eleazar, but the animals as well. She is hardworking, working real fast, getting along with the being very diligent, giving drink to the camels and to Eleazar. And and she also has hospitality. I mean, she has already offered a place for them to spend the night. Let's continue. So we see Eleazar being so thankful. Today is Thanksgiving. Today is a day to celebrate. But oftentimes we forget to celebrate and give thanks for those who special and important people who are in our lives. Eleazar is being thankful because he has found a wife for his master's son. When was the last time you gave thanks to God for your wife, for your significant other, for your kids, for your neighbors? Then the young woman ran off and told her mother's household what had happened. Now Rebecca, hey, Becca! Brother Laban rushed outside to the man at the spring. When he saw the nose ring and bracelets of his sister's arms, and when he heard Rebecca repeating what the man had said to her, he went to him while he was standing by the camels at the spring. Notice that Rebecca's brother Laban, he did not notice the man. He was very greedy. He was very stingy. He was obsessed with wealth. So what did he notice first? The jewels she was wearing. He said, Come, blessed of the Lord. Why are you standing outside when I have made the house ready, as well as a place for the camels? The man then went inside, and while the camels were being unloaded and provided with straw and fodder, water was brought to bathe his feet and feet of the men who were with him. This is the generosity, this is the hospitality. In ancient biblical customs, after walking long days in the sand, um, the people, when they arrived at a particular house, they would know the hospitality and generosity of the people on with this simple step. A generous house, a house that shows respect to their neighbors, who show the sign of welcoming by bringing out a bucket of water and giving the travelers a chance to put their feet in it. Number one, it helps them cool down from the heat of the sun, and it helps them clean themselves from the dust of all the sand they've been walking through, like all sweaty and things of that nature. When food was set before him, he said, I will not eat until I have told my story. Go ahead, he replied. So now Eleazar is about to explain why he has arrived. I am Abraham's servant, he began. The Lord has blessed my master so abundantly that he has become wealthy. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male and female slaves, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife, Sarah, bore her a son to my master in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. So he gives them the report. Oh, I am Abraham's servant. He now knows that Abraham and Nahor, the this family that are there that he's visiting, they are distant relatives. He's saying, "Oh, Vega." He's saying, "Oh, these people, um, your long lost relative, he's still alive. He's doing good. Oh, and nothing will be missing him or his descendants." And then he goes on saying, my master put me under an oath saying, you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of Canaanite in whose land I live. We already discussed that. Marriage to a Canaanite woman led to a life full of sin and human sacrifice, especially the sacrifice of newborn children to the god of fire. Instead, you must go to my father's house, to my own family, to get a wife for my son. When I asked my master, what if the woman will not follow me? He replied, the Lord in whose presence I have always walked will send this angel with you and make your journey successful. And so you will get a wife for my son from my own family and my father's house. In other words, he is insisting he does not want Isaac or any of his descendants to fall into the worship of Camels and Moloch, sacrificing children by roasting them on the fire. He wants his offspring to be faithful to the one and only true God. You will be freed from my curse if you go to my family and then they refuse you, then too you will be free from my curse. In other words, if Laban or Nahor uh, or Rebecca say no, problem is solved. He, the promise was not necessary to actually bring the woman, but to go out and look for her. Continuing, when I came to the spring today, I said, Lord God of my master Abraham, please make successful the journey I am on. While I stand here at the spring, if I say to a young woman who comes out of the water, please give me a little water from your jug, she answers, drink, and I will give you your camels too. Then the woman whom the Lord has decided upon for my master's son. So he explains that he put her under a test with that simple question, and that this was also a sign from God unto Eleazar as to what woman God has set apart for Isaac. I had scarcely finished saying this to myself when Rebecca came out with a jug on her shoulder. After she went down to the spring and drew water, I said to her, please let me have a drink. She quickly lowered the jar she was carrying and said, drink, and I will give you camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. He has confessed that he has put Rebecca under the test to see if she is worthy of being um, Isaac's son. And she has proven that her heart is kind, her heart is caring, she is generous. So, yes, she has proven that her heart is pure enough to belong to Isaac. When I asked, whose daughter are you? She answered, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, born to Nahor by Milcah. So I put the ring on her nose and bracelets on her wrists. By doing this, by putting this jewelry on her, she is now set apart. I don't know how many people would be trying to come after Rebecca, but by getting these jewels in her nose and her bracelets, that is equivalent of an engagement ring. Today, in today's society, when a woman is set for marriage, the man, when he proposes, he gives her a diamond ring, the engagement ring. In biblical times, it was a nose ring and bracelets. So now he is telling, yeah. Now he is. Now we see. Where were we? Now we see. Let's continue. Now, Eleazar has told Rebecca has now Eleazar has explained that the reason why Rebecca came back with the nose ring and the bracelets is because she has been set apart for Isaac. Yes, you see what's going on here? Since all the young men knew that the women would go to the well to draw water, it was not uncommon for a young man, to go to the well, not for the water, but for the opportunity to speak to the young woman he may have a crush on, to go and court her, trying and get her to be his girlfriend or a wife. By putting on the bracelet and the nose ring, Elias has pretty much eliminated the competition, because now other men who will see the nose ring and the bracelets know that she has been set apart. This gives now Eleazar the time to explain what is really going on here. Then I knelt bow down to the Lord, verse 48, blessing the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, whom had led me to the right road to obtain the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. Now, if you will act with kindness and fidelity toward my master, let me know. But if not, let me know that too. I can then proceed accordingly. In other words, now Eleazar had explained where he comes from, why he came, and he also explained the reason why he has set her apart. But now it is time for them to decide. Eleazar explained to them that according to the test that he and to the sign that he has from God, it is God's will that she goes back and marries Isaac. But you see, this verse beautifully destroys the argument that Calvinists make. You see, Calvinists believed in predestination. Oh, the Calvinist people believe, oh, if you've been caught through something, you cannot help but by avoiding. They cancel the belief of the free will. But we see in this, God has already made a calling to Rebecca. Eleazar has already explained her calling. She is to be married to Isaac. But yet, even though God has called Rebecca to get married to Isaac, Eleazar still asked for Rebecca's permission, or Rebecca's family, Eleazar still asked Rebecca's family for permission to take Rebecca back to Isaac. Laban and Bethuel replied, verse 50, this thing comes from the Lord. We can say nothing to you either for or against. In other words, now that they know that the way she responded wasn't um, as Eleazar had requested God, now that it was the sign that God gave him, now they know that even though they have the opportunity to say no, they are recognizing God's hand in all of this. Here's Rebecca right in front of you. Take her and go, that she may become the wife of your master's son. And the Lord has said, as the Lord has said, when Abraham's servant heard their answers, he let's continue. He bowed to the ground before the Lord. Then he brought out objects of gold clothing and presented them to Rebekah. He also gave costly presents to her brother and mother. After he and the men with him had eaten and drunk, they spent the night there. You see what's going on? Now, back in those days, in a lot of primitive societies, the early Jewish society as well, they had the habit of giving what's called a dowry. Upon engagement, the man's family would give gifts to the woman's family as a way of sealing the deal. This was to ensure that the family would not go back on their promise and honor the promise that the young woman was to marry the young man at a later decided date. And he says, after they had eaten and drunk, they spent the night there. So you see, this meal started as a regular meal to welcome a stranger to their house, which is typical to do even today. You go to a house, they'll take you in, they'll serve you jasmine tea, and treat you like one of the family. Middle Eastern society tends to be um, very um, generous that way. When they get up the next morning, he allowed. He said, "Allow me to return to my master." Her brother and mother replied, "Okay, now we see Eleazar is in a hurry to go back." You see, they were not just going from down the street. He has to go all the way back from Aram Naharaim in Mesopotamia, all the way back to Israel. He's in a hurry because Abraham is already old. It's only a matter of time before he dies. He wants to make it back so that Abraham can see that his journey was successful. Then they answered, "Let us call the young woman." And then he said to them, "Do not detain me now that the Lord has made the journey successful. Let me go back to my master. Mission has been accomplished. I'm in a hurry to go back." They answered, "Let us call the young woman and see what she herself has to say about it." So they called Rebecca and asked for her. "Will you go with this man?" She answered, "I will." So now the engagement is official. She is to marry. Um, she is to marry Isaac, but the family wants to hold on to her a bit longer, kind of like a goodbye party kind of stuff. But Eliezer says he cannot wait. He is, to say it in today's terms, on the clock. He is in a hurry. He wants to get back in time for Abraham to see his son get married to Rebecca. So now they're asking, okay, let's see what she says. Will she go now or will she go later? Um, when they bless her. So she says she's willing to go now. At this, they send off their sister Rebecca and her nurse with Abraham's servant and his men. We must understand, nurse here does not. She knows she was not sick, though she was not ill. We must understand that the term nurse here was a personal assistant. You see, Eleazar was a man. His companions were more likely men. There were no women in the group that came over with Eleazar. However, Rebecca, as a woman, has her own needs as all women have their um, feminine needs, hygiene, what have you. I don't need to go into details. You can imagine pretty much what it is. They blessed Rebecca and said, "Sister, may you grow into thousand myriads." A thousand myriad means a lot of people. In other words, can you grow and grow and grow and grow? Can you be prosperous? May your descendants be great. May you have many kids. That's what he's saying. Because in biblical times, a woman who could have one kid after another was seen as a woman who had been blessed by God. But a woman who could not bear children in ancient Jewish society was seen as if she had been cursed. Then Rebecca, that's not the word of God does not say that she was cursed, but that's what the society thinks. What society thought back in those days. Then Rebecca and her attendants started out. They mounted the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebecca and went on his way. Now, here's where it gets beautiful. Then, verse 62, meanwhile, Isaac had gone from Beer to Hairoi. That is another name for the region around Beersheba. Beer Hairoi. It's beautiful that we see that in this name right here because Lahairoi in Hebrew means he who watches and takes care of me. The living God who watches me, the living God who shepherds me, the living God who takes care of my needs. Bella. So, right here is once again giving testimony of how God has and the providence of God has taken part and helped Eleazar find this wife for Isaac. You see, it was a mission impossible. How could a 67-year-old person go to some strange city, choose a 20-year-old woman, a 20-year-old young woman, to go back with him to impress, marry somebody she doesn't even know? Makes no sense. But God guided them this way. So we have Isaac coming for the area of Beersheba, but the writer mentions the name Hairoi to put emphasis in the role of God helping Eleazar find this woman for Isaac. Uh, One day toward evening, he went out to walk in the field and caught sight of camels approaching. Rebecca took sight of Isaac and got down from her camel. She asked the servant, "Who?" Okay, in Hebrew, it doesn't say she got off from the camel. In the Hebrew says that she sees Isaac way down over there walking into his tent. Rebecca sees them and she makes herself fall from the camel. That's how the Hebrew, that's exactly how the Hebrew says. She makes herself fall from the camel. In other words, she throws herself. She gets off the camel in a hurry. She is she's smitten out of she technically falls in love with Isaac by just looking at him at that moment. Um, let's see, where were we? She asked the servant, "Who is the man over there walking through the field towards us?" "That is my master," replied the servant. Then she took her veil and covered herself. You see, she sees Isaac coming. Isaac was about to go into his tent, but then he sees Eleazar coming to him with Rebecca. Uh, Isaac recognizes Eleazar and walks over up to him. Rebecca sees him and he gets hit with Cupid's arrow. She falls in love with Isaac. That's why she threw herself off the camel. That is why she threw herself from the camel, because she was excited to see him, although this was the first time they saw each other. The servant recounted to Isaac all the things he had done. Then Isaac brought Rebekah into his tent with the tent of his mother Sarah. Isaac, up to this point, the patriarch was Abraham. Isaac, being single, could not count as a patriarch. But now Isaac is finally married. So now they go to what we would call the master bedroom. But that's what we call it in modern day times. He is now officially married. He is now ready to take the place of his father, Abraham. and she comes in and takes the place of his mother, because now since Sarah's not around, the new patriarch is Isaac. She is married to the new patriarch, so now she is the new matriarch. Then he took Rebecca as his wife, as a luxury, and found solace after the death of his mother. After that emptiness that happened in the heart of Isaac after his mother had died, he finally finds joy again, meeting this beautiful woman who God has chosen for his wife. He falls in love with her just as she has fallen in love with him. They love each other so much. Notice that it is now in her that he finds joy. Now she is a focus of his life. So we saw earlier that it says, okay, how to find a good marriage. Notice what was the first step. Eleazar. The first step was to have a clear idea of what kind of family you want to have after you get married. And then you look for the woman who would be giving you that kind of style, not um, looking for some other woman and then hoping she would be have the same kind of morals or goals or integrity that you're hoping to have. It all started with having a clear idea of what kind of integrity they wanted for her to have. Both the man and the woman need to know what they want in a man, what they want in a woman. Not for right now, oh, that should be nice. Oh, that she looks like this. No. Marriage is a thing for life. What kind of man or woman are you are you willing to have? Make sure your values and your choices are those of a person who you would be willing to live forever. So make sure you do not choose something that runs out. Don't choose physical beauty because it's gonna run out. That's number two. Elias, after putting it into God's hand, he looked into her heart. Once you know what kind of man, what kind of woman you want, put them to the test. Test them to see if they have the qualities you want in a mate. Just like Eleazar tested Rebecca. If you want a woman to be generous, test her out and see how generous she is. Then Eleazar also took the time to meet who the family is from, what kind of family they are. Take the time and see what kind of family they are because it tells you a lot about her values. Well, it tells you a lot about his values. Don't wait till it's official because by then it's already too late. Every step of the process, there was that part of thankfulness. Thank you, God, for helping me get this far. What is next? And then the focus. Notice that Isaac didn't say, oh, okay, you're my new wife. Let's go there. Let's go drinking. No. Let's go over there. No. Once they were husband and wife, they sought comfort in each other. He did not go out finding comfort in his friends, in sports, in the car. She did not go find comfort in her friends, in her makeup, in her shoes, in her clothes, in her bags. He was her comfort. She was his comfort. Think about this when you're trying to find who that special person is going to be in your life.